Let's go live. Good morning and welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on, Wednesday the 14th of July, so already halfway through. Well, it seems that way. Let's have a look at key news events today, the risk factors. Well, we've already seen the Reserve Bank of New Zealand. That's been a bit of a shocker for some, as we saw a potential rate increase in August. So it's discussing. So there we go. That's it. They left things alone for this month, but come August, it could be that we see the first of a interest rate increase. Now that's not tapering, that's interest rate increases they're talking about there. So as I said before, they're one of the more bullish ones. The other bullish one that may be out there is the Bank of Canada. They're much more hawkish and more likely to do something. Not this time, so no expectation for this time, but they will be talking about more tapering of the liquidity that's available out there. Other news already, we've seen inflation coming in higher for the UK there. CPI coming in at 2.5 versus 2.2 forecast. Now, whilst all the central banks are saying, well, inflation is going to push up higher first and then probably move down a little bit, it's the amount higher that some of these inflation numbers are coming in that may be moving the central banks more to a little bit more middle of the road from their very dovish positions. Wouldn't take much to get the Bank of England into a more hawkish line, methinks, but we'll see. Anyway, there you go. So other information, key data really, we've got the US PPI. We've already seen high inflation this week. Producers Price Index, it can knock on to inflation, so that will be watched quite carefully there at 130. We've seen some higher figures, mostly higher figures in previous data there. You can also have a look and see how much that affects the market, get the idea of the impact before the time. And then, as I say, the Bank of Canada rate, overnight rates, press conference then at 4 o'clock, so may get a bit late volatility. And we've got Fed chair testifying in front of one of the houses, semi-annual monetary policy report before the House Financial Services Committee. So that could create some volatility around 5 o'clock as well. So it's going to be a hard push not to talk about tapering. Right. Okay, that's the news. I'm going to do it a bit opposite way around today. Bitcoin, just have a quick look at Bitcoin first. Then, as suggested, yesterday, it's on a slippery slope on the downside. In my opinion, well, it's really coming against support as I'm looking at it. It's this morning, the support given from the previous bodies of the candles sitting there at 31,831. So it's sitting around that area. As long as this dollar remains relatively strong, I think we might even see that roll over further. Ethereum, a similar sort of situation here. In fact, selling off even further. I say further, but making more of a meal of it. Saying that, it hasn't come back to its prior body lows there, to be fair to it, but it's just a bit more of a pronounced sell-off there. And Ripple following the same sort of move. Now, for those that are not so familiar with the reaction to, there is this effect with the US dollar being stronger, of course, and that will, when you're measuring these cryptos against the US dollar, you may see more of an effect than if you're comparing them with one another. Okay. Whilst I'm on here, I'm just going to go straight to the indices. Let's have a look at the indices and let's just look at the Shanghai index. Actually, that's based in Hong Kong. These figures come from the Hong Kong index, but anyway, sell off overnight there. So sort of a bearish move. I struggle to say this isn't it's still looking bearish. As I said, I keep looking at it, put the higher time frames on, and to me it stinks that it could be rolling over a little bit further. Elsewhere though, we look at the UK, where the UK held up pretty much yesterday. Doji bar, not necessarily the safest pair of hands, the Doji bar, and we've already seen a pitch up this morning and a little bit of a roll. Yesterday with the DAX, hanging man there at the top. It's a bit soft signs there maybe, but all is not ended yet. S&P's key one here. There you go. Body wise, it's pretty much engulfed the previous body there, so again bearish signs on all of these into yesterday, and we've seen a little follow through this morning. Nasdaq has obviously been the outperformer in general, but even that put a doji in yesterday, so a little bit of weakness around where they are. Wouldn't take much to get them kicking again, but the high inflation figures really is probably showing itself through these US markets, and the Dow often gets a bigger hit. There we go. Not much bigger than actually Nasdaq Dow, pretty similar sort of looking hits there, relatively. So looking a little bit softer as we're seeing this stronger dollar. And if I just bring the dollar index in to play here, solid old move onto it yesterday, came back into some prior highs. We can look at the inverted dollar index, which is effectively euro, which rolls in nicely here. Just took out the lows there. Seen a bit of a bounce this morning at the moment. We could see a little bit more of a bounce, but it's continued its lower highs, lower lows. It did look a little bit soft yesterday morning when it before this news. So it did put some. They put this outside bar in there at 8 o'clock. It just all looked a little bit on the softer side, and for sure it's rolled at the moment. But it has got a daily pivot. If you're intraday trading this, looking to catch a little bit more of this downside, simple trend line across the lows there. If it starts breaking down, might be sufficient. Okay, pound. So the pound, bearish pivot swing there, bearish swing sort of movement. Just looking. A bit of a mixed bag this morning as it's rolled it come back the other way a little bit, but and it's through its daily pivot. Maybe we've seen these other banks that are more on the hawkish side of things. We could be seeing some the likes of the Bank of England pushing up there. That inflation data certainly would have moved it at 7 o'clock here, and that's why we're seeing this move at this stage. However, that might, well, we'll see. It may just hang in there because it is putting the sort of the pressure on the Bank of England here. But a break of the trend line later on, if it pushes down, or maybe have more downside, but probably a bit less than something like the euro, which is where they're trying to keep rates lower. Dollar yen. Well, this went the way it should go. With a strong dollar, we should see the dollar yen pushing up, and it went the way it should yesterday. Today, well, we're seeing the right sort of direction. Moving in the right direction at the moment compared to what we're seeing with the euro, the pound, in terms of a bit of price action there, bearish engulfing bar previously there, maybe a bit more downside. So look at the short time, okay, it's already through its pivot here as well. Now, I've sort of got this sort of more bearish view on some of these markets, and we look at the yen, and I'm sort of bearish on the yen in the price action that we're seeing here. At the moment, it's the yen strengthened against the US dollar here, but again, we could see a break here and a continued push to the upside. So just watch that post 8 o'clock. Aussie dollar, not a lot of movement there, although it's today it's moved up a little bit. Bearish engulfing bar for yesterday, which, well, you see a break of the lows there, you'd expect further downside. Holding up just a little bit better. And the likes of euro really got the bigger hit on the market yesterday, but the Aussie may be benefiting from the positive outlook of the New Zealand dollar, getting dragged along a little bit. And we've seen a sort of spike up here, but again, this could all, it's through its daily pivot, it could all reverse come post 8 o'clock, and it's just a bit of patience here to see if it starts breaking down. Maybe even the break of that 74.52 area might show a little bit more downside. But I can see if you're looking at the higher low in there, yes, there is a higher low in there. Well, if it's going to hold its own, it won't break below the lows there. So that's the line in the sand for me. Okay, that's the Aussie. Let's have a look elsewhere then. Canadian dollar, well, news coming out later. have we seen? This is US dollar, Canadian dollar. Not really. I mean, this trend has pushed up there. We could get a tasty move later if they get a bit more bullish on a bit more hawkish. Now they've already been quite hawkish, and yet we've still seen this sort of unwinding of the Canadian dollar somewhat. I might be sitting out there laying a couple of traps later on for any hawkishness, but for now, well, it's at the moment it's still pointing to a degree to the upside on the bigger time frames there. On this hourly, we've got lower high confirmed on this, but even as I'm talking at the moment, it's starting to get a little bit of a leg up. But I will look at this much closer at the time, and as I say, I might pop a little trap in there and see if I can get something out of it. Right, okay. That's where we are. Let's have that's it. We pretty much the commodities. Let's quickly look at the commodities then. Gold. Sorry if you're a commodities trader, I always leave these to last. Gold, well, gold daily wise, it's trying its best this morning. Held up pretty well yesterday, but Doji really is struggling around this area. But at the end of the day, it's a bit of a rising wedge, and at some stage it keeps on knocking on that door. Maybe it will get through. It's sort of raised the bar a little bit by looks of things there yesterday. It's not got through these prior bodies, but it's taken out these other highs here. Maybe it's got the chance to get a continuation then. Gold, okay, and then finally oil. Let's bring this out to dailies, and again yesterday did eventually get a continuation. It took some time. I looked at it earlier on. It was really slow, but the 4 o'clock bar gave it the kicker yesterday. Then it was really slow when I was looking at it, but yeah, I mean it walked its way out of some of these moves, but yesterday it was trying at 2 o'clock, not really getting too far, then dialing around, and it was, as I say, that 4 o'clock that really gave it the kicker. At the moment, people are remaining quite bullish on it. The price is, well, the charts are guiding us to the upside, and that's probably its best move at the moment. Okay, that's pretty much it for me for today. Morning, Steve. I'm going to call it a day here. I wish you a great day trading, and I'll be back in the morning. Bye for now.